Imagine if everyone you knew was a better version of themselves. What would Brantford be like if everyone was happier, more understanding, more caring? If everyone was more interested and active in helping each other? How great would that be? And what if that expanded to the rest of the country, or even the rest of the world? I believe it's possible, and I contend the way to get there is through volunteering. I'm going to share with you a strategy that we can start today that will help expose the full power of volunteering and help get us to that better world. But first, let's define volunteering. The dictionary defines volunteering as doing work without being forced or paid. And given that definition, I do a lot of volunteering. Between boards and committees and hands-on work, I'm doing some kind of volunteering at least once a week. I've been in a position to see the possibilities and the challenges that come with volunteering. The possibilities really inspire me. Most of my volunteer work involves working with children, and to see what they can accomplish when they're given the opportunities and the help they need is amazing. On the flip side, the challenges really frustrated me. Almost every organization I talk to has problems either recruiting volunteers, keeping volunteers, or both. So I decided I would do something different. I was going to start Volley to create better tools for volunteering. But when I looked beyond the problems, I realized what I had to do was evolve that solution. I had to design a new ecosystem for volunteering to make it simpler, more meaningful, and more fun. The idea being that if I can make volunteering more attractive, then more people will do it. And if more people do it, then that can help change the world. You see, volunteers help with the community organizations that help people in need. They provide opportunities in education and sports and the arts. They generally try to make a stronger community. And many of these organizations rely very heavily on their volunteers. Now, in Canada, we're not doing too badly. Stats Canada does a survey on volunteering that was last published in 2013. At that time, 44% of Canadians volunteered. And that's pretty good. Until you look at the historical numbers. That's actually 3% lower than 2010, and the lowest it's been in 10 years. But that's a percentage, and that can be misleading. The population of Canada is always growing. So what's really important is the number of volunteers. So we look at the total number of volunteers, and that's also gone down. But it's not really the number of people, it's the time they put in. How much time are they volunteering? So we look at the total number of hours of volunteers. That's also at its lowest level in 10 years. And the average number of hours per volunteer has actually been declining for a decade. Further, the way people volunteer has changed. Traditionally, people would choose one or two organizations that they're passionate about and volunteer for 3 or 5 or 10 years. That makes it really easy for the volunteer managers to plan activities and events, knowing they have a dedicated pool of trained volunteers. Today, more people are volunteering at several organizations, and a third of volunteers only volunteer less than 5 times per year. Not only is that more difficult for the volunteer manager to plan activities, but it also makes it more difficult for the volunteer to find something they're passionate about if they only get out there 2 or 3 times a year. So now we have a situation where we have fewer volunteers volunteering for fewer hours and less frequently than they used to. Well, that sucks. I mean, that's the opposite of what we want to do if we want to build a stronger community, let alone change the world. So what can we do to change that? If we want to reverse that trend, we have to look at why people volunteer in the first place. 93% of volunteers volunteer because they want to make a contribution to the community. That's exactly what I'm saying we want to do. Build a stronger community. And the other 7%, they just want the free t-shirt. Some people volunteer because they're personally affected by an organization. Say they've got a family member with special needs, or they know someone who's living with a disease. It could be someone coaching their son or daughter's hockey team, or helping out at their child's school. Every parent can identify with that. And that's actually how I became more active in volunteering. When my kids started school, I joined the board, I joined some committees, and because I'm a tech guy, they asked me to help develop their IT curriculum. They asked me to mentor their Lego League team. And I helped develop tools and their intranet for the staff. Which brings us to the next reason people volunteer. People want to use their skills outside of work. They want to develop new skills. They want to explore their strengths and challenge themselves. They're working on their personal and professional development outside of work while also giving back. And a lot of people volunteer because their friends and their family volunteer, or to meet new people, right? They're going out with friends, family, meeting new people, and having fun. It's part of the social aspect of volunteering. I myself have several close friends that I wouldn't have met if not for volunteering. So remember that definition of volunteering, doing work without being forced or paid. It says nothing in there about no rewards. If you're volunteering for an organization that supports you and your family, you're actually helping them help you. And in some cases, those opportunities wouldn't even exist if you didn't volunteer. When my kids started playing soccer, my wife and a friend of ours were the coaches. Not because of any great knowledge of soccer, but because no one else would do it. And if we didn't have a coach, there couldn't have been a team. So not only our children were affected, but the entire team would have been done. Now, granted, we're coaching 4-year-olds in soccer, which is more like herding cats than coaching soccer. And our friend is a Montessori teacher, so she has some experience with herding cats. Right? And when you're using your skills, you're becoming more confident in your skills. You're expanding your knowledge. And if you want to learn something new, a volunteer organization is a very good place to start because they're very welcoming and accepting. They want your help, so they will help you help them. When I started on the board, I didn't know what I could add as a tech guy, and specifically as a software developer. There isn't a lot of software being written in these meetings. Actually, there's no software being written in these meetings. But I can apply my analytical and problem-solving skills in a new context outside of my usual domain. I could also learn more about financials and budgets. I learned more about strategic planning and risk management. I now use that all the time as I run Cosmic Communications and as I build Volley. Even my son, he's 11 years old right now. 4 years ago, he decided he wanted to start helping build the set and the stage for the school play. It gives him an opportunity to use my tools because I don't have any construction projects at home. Plus, it's an opportunity for us to spend some time together. And that's the next part, the social aspect of volunteering. You're going out and working on your relationships. You're working on your real-life social network. But not only that, you're actually improving your physical and mental well-being. Studies have shown that socializing can help relieve loneliness, ward off depression, strengthen your immune system. It can help you live longer, reduce the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. And one study in the US found that people who volunteered 100 hours or more were healthier overall versus people that did no volunteering. And when you go out with new people, you're meeting new people, you can become more understanding and caring. Because when you go out together to volunteer, you've all got the same purpose. You want to help people, and nothing else matters. Not religion, not politics, not gender identity, not ethnicity, not sexual orientation. Anything that can be used to divide us doesn't matter because we're all there to help people. And as you work together, you get to know them. And that's the first step to getting to understand and accept them. And if you can understand and accept them, that makes you more understanding and accepting of others as well. And that 93% that want to make a contribution to the community, but by the way, will happily accept that t-shirt, they're not only making a contribution to the community, but they're trying to bring out a better version of themselves by helping others. Even just trying to help others is itself a noble activity. And when you go out and you do it, you feel a sense of accomplishment. You can feel proud of the work you've done, and you should. That helps boost your self-esteem. You're bringing out a better version of yourself. Or more accurately, you're bringing out the best part of yourself. Better version implies that you're changing, but you're not. You already have it in you. You're just bringing out that best part of yourself. And I'll call that your best self. So those are some very personal and life-changing rewards that aren't mentioned in that definition of volunteering. Doing work, without being forced or paid. So let's change it. For our purposes, let's say that volunteering is working to build a stronger community while having fun, staying healthy, and bringing out your best self while not being forced or paid. That's a much more attractive definition. That also shows that the full power of volunteering isn't just in helping others, isn't just in building a stronger community, but it actually helps you bring out your best self. It helps make you a better person. So, redefining a word isn't enough. It's not enough to convince someone to volunteer, let alone change the world. So what's the big, innovative strategy that we can do to help expose the full power of volunteering and change the world? Talk about volunteering. Simple, right? Except it isn't. For some reason, we're brought up with this notion that you don't talk about volunteering. It's just not something you do. It's pervasive enough that I've heard it from other people. You don't talk about volunteering. No one needs to know about it. So I went looking for that rule. I checked board manuals, I checked policies and procedures, I looked online, I couldn't find any evidence. And then it occurred to me that there's a simple reason for that. It's a stupid rule. I mean, generally, you're volunteering for something that you're passionate about. So why not add it to the conversation? Add it to your introduction. Add it to the questions when you're talking to new people. What's your major? Where do you work? Are you married? Do you have any kids? Do you have any pets? And before you get to their medical history, why not ask, do you do any volunteering? And if they get to you first and say, what do you do? Add volunteering to your introduction. Oh, I run a small phone company and I volunteer at Lansdowne Children's Center. Easy. Make volunteering a part of your identity. Make volunteering not just something you do, but a part of who you are. Talk about volunteering until it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, then you normalize being your best self. And when you normalize being your best self, then you're always your best self. It's like talking about volunteering inspires you, yourself, to be your best self. And if you're always your best self, then it becomes infectious. And you can inspire other people to be their best selves, even just a little bit. And from the next person, a little bit more, and the next person, a little bit more. Until it's like we're all inspiring each other to be our best selves. So when you talk to someone who already volunteers, ask them about their volunteer experience. Share your stories. Help them tap into their best self. And when you talk to someone who doesn't volunteer, they may be inspired to start. In fact, of the people who don't volunteer, a quarter of them just don't know what to do. And half of them haven't volunteered because no one asked them. So let's help. Are you interested in volunteering? You are? Great. You know, we've got some events coming up at Lansdowne that we could use some help with. If that's not your thing, what are you interested in? You're not sure? Oh, I've got some friends that can help as well. My friend Trevor, he works with the homeless. Terry volunteers with the soup kitchen. Ken with Kiwanis. Kristen and Rita Marie with Rotary. Avery with the United Way. Tanya with the SPCA. Priscilla and Chris with the 501st. And Dave over there, he's promoting kindness in the city. I know this because we all talk about volunteering. And so, if everybody talks about volunteering, and we put these opportunities out there, then we get these people who just don't know what to do or haven't been asked. Now we can move the volunteer rate up from 44% to 70%. And now we've got a majority of the population working to build a stronger community, working on becoming happier, more understanding, more caring, becoming their best selves. And we're going to tell these new people to talk about volunteering. And they're going to maintain their best self state. And they're going to inspire other people to do the same. And so on, until we reach critical mass of community happiness, community understanding, community caring, community strength. And if we can do that here, our neighbors will see that and they'll be inspired. And then their neighbors will be inspired. And we're going to start this chain reaction of community after community normalizing being their best self. And if everyone normalizes being their best self, and they're always their best self, then we can reach that better world. But back to today, our theme is one drop, thousands of ripples. I'm going to ask each of you to add your drop. Talk about volunteering. Next time you meet someone, add it to your introduction. If you're talking with friends and family, discuss each other's experiences. Swap stories. Tell the stories of the people you've met. Tell the stories of the people you've helped. Keep tapping into that passion. Show what it felt like to volunteer. Keep bringing out your best self, and then let's see how much better things can get. Thank you.